Starcasting to you from the City of Angels. Hello everyone, I'm Kiris. Thank you so much for being here and listening to the Voice of Astrology podcast. This is your astrology cosmic superpower for the week beginning Sunday, August 11th through Saturday, August 17th, 2024. Let's journey together with astrology and explore how to connect with the stars, the planets, the energies for our new week ahead. The awe-inspiring August night sky has Jupiter and Mars shining in the eastern morning sky during the month of August. On the morning of August 14th, they will lie closest to each other when they pass less than a full moon widths apart. The Perseid meteor showers peaks from the mornings of August 11th through the 13th. Now, the moon will be at its first quarter, 50% illuminated. The best time to watch for the meteor showers will be starting around midnight until dawn. On August 13th, the bright red star Antares in Scorpius the Scorpion will lie close to the growing waxing gibbous moon. Sky watchers in certain locations check for where you are if you want to see the moon pass in front of or occult Antares. On August 15th and 16th, the moon is near the teapot. The waxing gibbous moon will be near the teapot, an asterism or cluster of stars in Sagittarius, the Archer. On the evening of the 15th, the moon will appear close to the direction of the center of our Milky Way galaxy. You can catch the moon and the teapot until after midnight. The 7 original planets that you can view without aid of telescope or binoculars are as such this week. We have the sun in its domicile, its home sign castle in fixed fire Leo. We start off the week this Sunday with the moon in her fall in the sign of Scorpio. Mercury is retrograde in its domicile and exaltation sign of Virgo, and Mercury will be retrograding back into the sign of Leo this week, which we'll definitely chat about in a moment. Venus is in her fall in the sign of Virgo. Mars is in Gemini. Jupiter is in its detriment in Gemini, and Saturn is retrograde in the sign of Pisces. Sunday, August 11th, the week starts off with your cosmic superpower being to not try to convince yourself that something in the past wasn't so bad, and do not try to convince yourself that you're supposed to feel something that you simply do not feel because it's the right thing to do, because you may be assuming, well, I should feel this way. It's like this. Let's say you've gotten out of a really bad emotional situation. Moon in her fall in the sign of Scorpio. And then time passes. And as time passes, the memories can become more cloudy in the sense of we tend to remember the good things. We tend to look back and say, oh, well, it really wasn't so bad. With the moon in Scorpio, yes, it was. So if you find yourself starting off the week on this Sunday, trying to talk yourself into feeling something that you don't really feel, or trying to convince yourself, well, it wasn't so bad. I should be nice to this person. I should let it go. I should go back to the situation. The cosmic energy this Sunday is highlighting for us, yes, it was a bad situation, and trying to convince yourself that you feel something that you simply don't feel. It was a bad situation, and don't try to talk yourself, especially with the Mercury retrograde. Don't try to talk yourself and your heart and your emotions into going back to a situation, an emotional situation, that it was horrible at the time, and you're not going to go back for a second helping of emotional hell. This is the tempting energy on this Sunday as we start off the week. But the cosmic superpower is always highlighting for us or trying to help us in the sense of you've been there, you've done that. It was hard on you emotionally. It was a negative situation. Just release it, let it go, and do not try to convince yourself or feel something that it wasn't as horrible as it was. It really was. We release it, we bless it, and we move on. We get the lesson, and then we move on. There is no power like the power of goodbye. I'm simply not going back to that emotional situation. Monday, August 12th, the moon's day, the emotions and what you're feeling are growing and intensifying. We now have the second quarter moon at 20 degrees Scorpio, 24 minutes, which means that the moon is waxing in its power, in its intensity, in its emotion. On this day, the moon in Scorpio is making a water trine flow to Saturn retrograde in Pisces. The trine is ease. It's easy to do something or get something accomplished. So when you find yourself on this day, Monday, trying to escape the pain, the emotions, the moon in Scorpio, the way you can potentially beat yourself up emotionally, torture yourself emotionally. Then with the moon making this trine flow to Saturn retrograde in Pisces, channel the emotion, channel the pain into something creative. Comedians, creative types will tell you that their creativity comes from a place of channeling the pain in a positive way. Not always, but a lot of it is the way the pain is turned into something beautiful and creative. So if you are feeling this way on Monday, the moon's day, August 12th, let your escape be the escape into creativity. Because again, the trine flow with water is easier to fall back into an addiction that you wouldn't want to fall back into. This Saturn in Pisces state that we've been in is the Saturn saying it's time to overcome the addictions, the avoidances that keep you, that are a block from making your dream, your vision, Pisces, come true. So channel the energy into something creative. If you feel like, well, I'm not a creative type, then at the very least, with the moon in Scorpio ruled by Mars, clearing things away, clearing out the clutter, because every object that we have has an emotion and a memory attached to it. This can be why for some people it's so difficult to have all of these things piled up in the garage, let's say, that they've not used or maybe even looked at for years. But clearing away that space, those memories, is a positive way to handle the pain, the needing to escape emotionally on August 12th. It can be very productive. Again, it depends on how we see the power and channel the energy. Also on this day, we've got the moon in Scorpio making an opposition to Uranus in Taurus, and then the moon is making an applying trine flow to Neptune in Pisces. A lot of creative cosmic superpower here. Again, if you transform, change the emotion, the painful emotions, into something creative and beautiful. Tuesday, August 13th, we have the moon moving into mutable fire, Sagittarius. Now, Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter. Jupiter is in its detriment right now in the sign of Gemini. And we have the moon in Sagittarius making a square aspect to Mercury retrograde in Virgo. And when we have the moon square Mercury, and both are not favorably placed by condition, then this is the day, Tuesday, being ruled by Mars, the planet of war, where you would want to use your power to not react to things that you hear in the news, social media, to also not react to private conversations, different opinions, because Sagittarius is the law and very philosophical. And so Sagittarius with the moon there is the need to be right, the need to state your case. Remember, Jupiter is in its detriment right now in Gemini. And then with the Mercury retrograde, exalted and in its domicile, but retrograde. This can be a small conversation or hearing something in the news or on social media that turns into a huge deal. Remember, we're looking at Jupiter, Sagittarius. So the question to ask yourself on this Tuesday is, how easily manipulated are you? Can you possibly be when you read or hear things on social and in the news? Sagittarius rules over publishing, newspapers, social media. How easily manipulated and worked up do you get, can you get, when you hear something and immediately take action, as opposed to waiting, thinking it through, and not just overreacting? As we've been seeing, what is going on in Britain is heartbreaking, to say the least. Now, the troubles and the problems may have been a long time brewing, but something that was posted on social media that wasn't factual was the match that ignited the fire and the riots and all that we've been seeing in the news. So, with this Tuesday, August 13th, with the moon in Sagittarius, which can be not knowing when to quit, it just keeps going and going, making that square to a Mercury retrograde. This is your time, your day. Again, whether it's on a personal level or the collective level of what we've been watching and witnessing, to not, one, take what you're hearing as the gospel truth. It isn't. To always question everything and to not just overreact. Moon in Sag, square Mercury in Virgo. Think it through first. Get the facts, and do not allow yourself to be so overly manipulated with your emotions that you just jump whole hog into a situation that potentially can get way out of hand with this aspect today. And always, of course, but today, the cosmic superpower is putting a spotlight on this energy. Wednesday, the scatteredness and feeling out ungrounded continues because the moon is still in Sagittarius, making an opposition to its ruler Jupiter in its detriment. In Gemini, the moon makes an opposition to Mars in Gemini, and the moon makes a square to Saturn in Pisces. We also have Mars conjunct Jupiter in the sign of Gemini. Mercury, the planet of communication, retrogrades back into very dramatic, fiery Leo. So when it seems as though there is all volatility and chaos and what to believe, what not to believe, the communication way out of bounds. When you are feeling scattered and mentally overwhelmed, it's just too much information. What you do is you remember to stay centered, calm, and ground yourself. Do not plug into, do not take the hook of the drama, the Mercury retrograding back into the sign of Leo. The moon in Sagittarius making that square aspect to Saturn in Pisces, also ruled by Jupiter, is a potential major block showing up in your life because you overreacted, said too much too soon, and you can't take it back. And Saturn in Pisces retrograde is now saying no. Later on in the afternoon, in the evening, we've got the moon in Sagittarius making a fire trine flow to the sun in Leo, and then a fire trine flow to Chiron in Aries, the wounded healer. So if you just stay calm and don't overreact and don't allow yourself to be overwhelmed, scattered, ungrounded, then the moon in Sag making the trine to the sun and to Chiron, the moon and the sun of the two lights, the two luminaries, the inner and the outer. This will bring you a very positive, greater sense of self-esteem because you just waited. You didn't overreact. You didn't plug into the chaos and the drama and take the hook. So the day can end up very positive, and it has a lighter, happier, fiery, sparkly energy because you didn't weigh yourself down by just taking in the information, whatever it may be. Again, this is privately and or on the world stage. You just kept it light and grounded, and the day ends up with some very positive, happy aspects. Thursday, August 15th, we have the moon moving into her detriment in the sign of Capricorn, cardinal earth Capricorn, that wants to get something initiated and started. Now with this moon in Capricorn, along with Mars in Gemini, making a square aspect to Saturn, the ruler of Capricorn, in Pisces. The greater and lesser malefics, Saturn and Mars, this is a situation that you definitely want to stay away from and have nothing to do with it. The moon in Capricorn is not feeling at its best, like the moon at home in Cancer, its domicile. The moon in Capricorn is a feeling of being out beyond the boundaries, where you feel like you are in exile, lost, the orphan child, along with the two malefics squaring off with each other. That is a space, an energy where self-care is of primary importance, and stay away from the meanness, the cruelty. This is the Saturn square Mars, regardless of what signs they are in. These two signs, Mars in Gemini and Saturn in Pisces, are the mutables. Things are shifting and changing. Whatever you are told, whatever you are promised, whatever bill of goods someone is trying to sell you, do not believe it. Do not put a lot of stock in it, because it won't stick. It will change. We're looking at the mutables. Friday, August 16th. This is a day the astrological energies, the cosmic superpower, is connected to a love, a relationship that has grown cold. Sometimes in life, we've outgrown a friendship. We've outgrown a marriage. We do outgrow certain relationships. At a certain time, certain relationships are there because of a variety of different reasons. But as time passes, not all of the relationships we have in life were meant to last forever. So on this Friday, which is Venus's day, the realization that no matter how hard we try, it just isn't there any longer. And coming to that realization, that moment of you're just not feeling it any longer. They are not feeling it any longer. As an astrologer, I hear this all the time. From marriages to friendships to whatever it may be, business partnerships. the love has grown cold. And what to do about this is to realize it, be aware of it, accept it, of course, as a part of life, and move on. To keep struggling, to feel the feelings when the feelings aren't there, when we don't have things in common any longer. There's no joy, there's no happiness, there's no love in the relationship. Then that is a big part of when you know it is time to say goodbye and move on. Saturday, Saturn's Day, we have the moon moving into fixed air Aquarius, which is freedom, independence, it's communication, it's knowledge. It's very light, it's very airy as an air sign. The moon in Aquarius makes a conjunction to Pluto in Aquarius. So with the moon, which is very sentimental and wants to hold on to things forever, the moon making a conjunction to Pluto, which is the death, the rebirth, and then the transformation, the phoenix rising from the ashes in the sign of Aquarius. This is where, when you are willing to let go and give the freedom, if it's the other person asking for the freedom, and or if it's you wanting the independence and the freedom, then look at it as a new beginning that is trying to come into your life, so that freedom of lightness and energy and a new way of expanding the mind. Aquarius is an air sign. They love to learn and have knowledge and mental stimulation just about more than anything else. Air needs to move. It needs to change. This is for all of the air signs: Libra, Gemini, Aquarius. If the mind has grown stale and there is no more to learn, then this Saturday, as we close out the week with the moon, which is what you're hungry for, what you need, making that conjunction to Pluto, which is the death and the rebirth, this is major transformation in the relationship, to say the least. Even if you weren't to end a relationship with these aspects, it would be, we've got to have a new and different way of learning, communicating, and changing together at the very least. Sometimes relationships just become very boring, and that is not Aquarius. Aquarius rules over electricity. It's very alive. It rules over the circulation in your body, things needing to circulate. And if there is any sign of the zodiac that welcomes and is tolerant of all different kinds of people and situations, that certainly is Aquarius. And whether you are an Aquarius or not, you have this somewhere in your astrology chart on one of the houses, the 12 houses in your personal chart. And this is where this transformation, there has to be something new and free. As we're closing out the week, we are in waxing gibbous moon phase. The full moon is almost full. There is still more room for growth, and also the full moon culmination bring something to the light, to our awareness. And wherever you have Aquarius in your chart and in your relationships, this is the awareness that things must transform for greater freedom, independence, and happiness in your life and in everyone's life. Have a fabulous week, everyone. Stay grounded and cool. Thank you. I will see you all in the stars.